Looks like Ubisoft might actually be in a little bit of trouble. So, one thing that I actually love looking at is looking at things and how they can affect other things down the line, potentially, right? Not a huge person into stocks, not my thing. Don't really have the money to invest in said stocks because expendable income, that whole discussion. However, one of the things that I look at is if a company isn't doing well or is doing well, how that follows along with their stock prices, whether they're dipping, whether they're increasing, right? And Ubisoft really seems like they're just kind of in a rough spot right now. I had to actually look up what they did this year. So, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. I don't even remember this game coming out. I'm sure somebody remembers it. I'm sure somebody played it. I'm sure somebody's like, "What do you mean? That it was an amazing game." I totally didn't even realize that came out. Skull and Bones, the first quadruple A game, if you will. Right? Remember that? Yeah, that happened. I haven't heard any news about that in a hot minute. Invincible: Garden Globe. Never heard of that. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Mobile. I don't even remember this. I know that Star Wars Outlaws did come out. That came out to mid reception. It is an okay experience, like what 6, 7 out of 10 status from what people I've heard like Moist Critical talking about. We do have what just came out. Oh no, yeah, Concord, right? Literally dead on arrival. What, within a week? September 6th, 2024 was when it went down. And then we have the upcoming Assassin's Creed, right? We have the Assassin's Creed Shadows coming up, which has garnered its own sort of controversy. I haven't delved too deeply into it. All I know is that the main character was an actual person. This was emergent, I think, as far as 1950s, discovering, Japanese historical text to support that. But I understand that they're taking it in a direction that people, I guess, don't necessarily like. Yes, Assassin's Creed is a historical game. I don't know. I don't really understand the whole debacle on it. It's also not worth my time. What does matter and what is worth my time is seeing a large quadruple A company, right? Quadruple A. Seeing a large company see such a dip in profits, especially with so many big titles, right? Assassin's Creed is going to be the next big title from what I understand from Ubisoft. And obviously, if we look at it, one day, yeah, it's remained pretty stagnant, right? However, if we go to the 5 days, within the last week, we're talking, this is Concord, right? September 5th, going into September 6th, after September 6th, right? We can see a clear correlation here between Concord, the date Concord shut down, and decreasing stocks, right? And this is after also Star Wars Outlaws coming out. So, let's look at the last month, though. Oh, okay. So about August 30th, right? The end of last month was when we're seeing this. And I think that Star Wars Outlaws has come out since I don't remember what day it actually launched on. In fact, let's actually look that up really quick. Star Wars Outlaws. If I can actually, spell. Yeah, I have a lot of toggles, to say the least. I haven't actually quite figured out how I'm going to blend them all together. August 30th. So right now, 2-second Google test, right? Thank you, Fat Electrician. We can see a clear correlation between August 30th, the stock price right here after going down, because this is when you're going to see initial reviews coming in, right? This is going to be the 30th to the 3rd. It's wild to consider that their stock price, it was at $3.76, right? $3.76 USD, right? But like, that's big. Like, this is not nothing. Like, that is 337 to 286. You can absolutely argue percentages, right? 100%. It would be much different if it was, say, Nintendo, right? Nintendo, as you can see on the right here, being $53.39 USD. Say that went down to, say, $39.29 USD, right? Okay, we have a little bit of a drop here, right? Yes, this is a percentage. But I'm curious what this is going to spark, what this is going to spawn. Not the same company, obviously, but when we look at something like Destiny, right? The joke after Lightfall, I guess during Lightfall, became, we just need to let this game die more often, right? A lot of people were there around in Curse of Osiris when Destiny 2 was effectively just dead, right? The game was weeks from servers being shut down. And then there's been periods throughout that game's history where the game's in a rough spot, which spurs something, spurs people to take action, therefore game gets better. Even from a 6-month category, we see that it's been lower. It's been about $4. It's gone up to $5.25 USD, but then it's really just kind of plummeted from a 6-month. And then let's just go from about a year, right? From a year, this is where the numbers start kicking in, right? In my opinion, this is more definitive because one day, right? Cool. You have Grats. You have a flat line. 5 days, okay. You have a pretty sharp drop off, but I mean percentile. But when you start going into the 1 year, this is a more consistent set of data, as is over the course of about 365 calendar days, right? To go from about $5-6 down to about $3, that is a 50% 50 drop. That is insane to me. It's wild. And I mean, there was things like in the Charlie video, the Moist Critical video, where he pointed out that it's just like Star Wars Outlaws is kind of the like standard open world Ubisoft game, right? Yes, I know exactly. You know exactly what he's talking about. I know exactly what he's talking about. It feels like the same game, right? And I often advocate for, get your engine, get a good engine going, and then just use that engine, right? Spend the development time up front, a la Resident Evil style, right? With the Resident Evil engine, starting with Resident Evil 7, going into Resident Evil Village, going into Resident Evil 4 Remake, and the RE2, RE3 Remake, right? I don't think that Ubisoft is doing that, though. I think that they have a product, but they're not doing stuff with the product, right? Think about Resident Evil Village, right? Or think about Resident Evil 7, right? How sure we had kind of like block mechanics Ethan could do, but now we had parry mechanics that Leon could do. I thought that the knife was going to fall to the wayside because the knife is notoriously OP in OG RE4, right? However, now we have this full-fledged parry system. We have perfect parries. Knife fighting is it feels good, to say the least, in Resident Evil 4 Remake. So it's very interesting to see that they took the time to develop the RE engine, the Resident Evil engine, and they absolutely just ran with it. I don't think that Ubisoft has the ability to do this. And it's very interesting to hear allegations, right? Disgruntled Ubisoft investor calls Assassin's Creed maker to go private. I'm not going to read the rest of it. It's IGN article, right? But it seems like this is the other part that I discuss when we talk about decisions like this, right? When say, Bungie does a decision, when Activision Blizzard does a decision, right? This is the other half, the investor side of it, right? There has to be money going in, right? So yes, we get legally distinct AK platform in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, right? I think it's Modern Warfare 3. I can't remember. No, it's certainly not Black Ops 6. It's got to be Modern Warfare 3. Legally distinct AK in 50 caliber, right? With the drum mag, right? I love Brandon Herrera's video on that topic. Woo, it was funny. But I mean, like, you have investors that invest in these companies, right? So say, it's like, well, yes, you have belief. Like, if I believed in Nintendo, sure, I could probably invest in Nintendo stock. This should not be treated as financial advice. I'm not giving financial advice. Please go see a licensed financial advisor. Okay, thanks, bye. But like, I mean, there's strategies to investing. Whether you follow, say, Warren Buffett schools of logic, whether you follow, I want to go with my gut, whether you try to go, buy low, sell high. Even if you take losses, or you go through a licensed financial advisor, or even a broker, right? Like, I mean, there's a number of things and reasons to do. But this is the part that I think needs to be discussed more, is what happens when a business keeps doing things that are completely just, that lead to this effect, lead to an absolute just nosedive, right? What happens on the investor side of things? And it's one of these things that I look at, and I like that investors are talking. But to be fair, when you lose 50% over the past year, 5 years, I mean, looks even worse. 5 years, we were up at about almost 20. We were up at $20 USD in 2021. We have gone absolutely just nosedive. $20 down to $2. That is a factor of 10. 10. Oh my God. Ubisoft is mismanaged, shareholders are hostages. Once again, these are all allegations, right? I treat everything like this as an allegation. This is what is being said, not necessarily what is true, not necessarily what is, completely reflective of the actual experience. And I definitely treat everyone, when you see articles, especially by IGN, articles that you yourself cannot cite source until you have, some kind of peer review or some kind of source, right? One of those things that I definitely recommend, just using those critical thinking skills you have. I look at this and I see a bigger picture of shareholders right now are pissed. Rightly so. A factor of 10 in the past 5 years, a factor of 3 in the past year, and clear parallels, in my opinion, when we start to look at the launch of Star Wars Outlaws, the 30th, right? And it goes down. The Concord incident, September 6th, right? And a continued nosedive from there. And I think that Assassin's Creed is going to be a telltale thing. Do I think that this is necessarily the studio getting shuttered? Sorry, not studio, company getting shuttered. You can tell I'm used to studios getting shuttered, right? Dude, does this indicative of Ubisoft's inevitable death? I don't know. That being said, it's not outside the realm of possibility. They could consider filing for bankruptcy. Use bankruptcy, use it tactically in order to reform and do certain things. Assassin's Creed Shadows could absolutely be a banger. I mean, we've been wanting, Japanese Assassin's Creed for how many years, right? We had the side-scrolling one. I don't remember what it was. There was a couple that like kind of scratched that itch. But we never actually, have gone over here. I personally haven't really followed Assassin's Creed since looking at people playing Syndicate. Syndicate seems like the kind of cutoff. I'm still a fan of Assassin's Creed 1. Ezio's a playboy in 2. Didn't really care for it. I have just way better things to do with my time, in my opinion. But it's very interesting. It's interesting to look at these things, and I recommend that even if you don't understand, like I don't understand everything that goes into this, right? I have middling understanding. I'm also not a licensed financial advisor, right? But I do look at this. I do look at what I know and have seen, such as release dates, and I see a correlation between negativity and stock price, and that then prompts the question, where do they go from here? What happens next? Do we have investors able to pull out? I mean, there was somewhere it says something about how investors feel like hostages. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I can't, ascertain that. I can't prove that. So I view that as just speculation. If you're a shareholder, can you even be held hostage? I assume at the very least you're able to in some way, shape, or form pull out, right? You're able to just sell off your stock. But then again, I guess that comes down to who's buying Ubisoft stock, right? If you bought Ubisoft for say a year ago for $6, and you see all the recent news and you're trying to sell it for $286 on a clear downward trend, right? I'm sure people are going to want to buy low, absolutely. But at the same time, I mean, you've already gone in the red. So do you hold on to your stock? But even then, if that is the definition of being held as a hostage, that's literally the game you're playing, though. That's literally how the stock market works, right? If I were to buy into Nintendo right now for $53.39 USD, and then Nintendo were to, I don't know, do something. I don't know, like take some child's Pokemon game away from them because they couldn't have had it, right? Wizards of the Coast, Pinkerton style, right? People forget that happened. I never let WotC live that down. We have precedent for companies just hiring people to take physical stuff from you. So when you looking at my Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Coliseum discs, both in English and JP, looking like. So, but say Nintendo did do that, right? Hypothetically. And then, went down to say, I don't know, $20 USD. I had already invested $53.39 per share that I bought, right? So I'm clearly operating in the red. So then I either hold out, try to wait for the price to go up, and then I can, take less of a financial hit, try to see if I can profit by holding out. I guess that could be seen as, being held hostage. But even then, that's the game you're playing, right? There's this philosophy in investing that you should only be using expendable income, right? If I say made $10,000 in a month, right, and I knew say 5,000 of it had to go to something like editors, go towards things like rent, food, gas, bills, right? I mean, and that says I had extra like $5,000 over, right? Sure, let's apply the 10% rule, right? Throw 10, maybe even 20% into savings just to be safe, right? But I don't make near that much. I'm just using it as a nice round number. But then so okay, I got maybe $2,000-3,000 left over. Sure, maybe use expendable $2,000 in income to potentially invest. But you've already written that off in your calculations. You reasonably already write that as a loss, but. That's one philosophy. There are many philosophies. There are people like Warren Buffett who, have absolutely just done numbers with this. I'm curious what Ubisoft's response is going to be. Just because it's bad now, does that mean that they're going to file for bankruptcy? Does that mean that they're going to do a stock buyback? Does that mean we're going to be seeing some meetings between shareholders and investors and higher management of the company? Are we going to see a restructuring? Are we going to see firing of people? Unfortunately, we might even see layoffs because of this, because, clearly there's no interest. No interest equals less money or potentially no money, so we're just going to have to lay people off, which I've already made abundantly clear. Layoffs are a strictly management skill issue, and I disagree with the concept fully. That is a lack of preparedness on management, and as somebody that's known people who have been through layoffs, it's not fun. It's not okay, and we need to definitely make that practice not normalized. But what are your thoughts? Do you see this as, just a standard turn of the market? I mean, market goes up and down, right? Everything that goes up must come down, right? in a healthy economy, right? Economics, what goes up must go down. Do you think that this is the end for Ubisoft? Do you think that it's a false correlation? That correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation between the 30th being the release of Outlaws and then the 6th being the shuttering of Concord, right? Especially being a large investment as Concord was. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? Did you like seeing financial Kip? Once again, not a financial advisor. Do not, no. See a licensed financial advisor. Talk to your financial institution, okay? Do it. I'm watching you. Thank y'all for watching. Have a good rest of your day.